Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I want to show how to make this very simple classic granny square stitch. This is a DC double crochet in US terms, and I believe in UK terms it's a treble, but I'm going to be calling it a double crochet. So I'm going to be using a 5mm hook. You will also need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. This is a sharp tapestry needle to really work those ends in. It's attached to a magnet to make it easier so it doesn't get lost. The yarn I'm using is from a local shop here in the UK. It's called Aldi, and this is So Crafty double knit yarn, storm color, and this is the aqua color. Put them to the side. And this is just an oddment. I don't know what the origin of this yarn is. It's for the centers. I'm not going to be doing the whole square. This is a 6-inch square. I'm simply going to be showing how to do the technique, which is basically the first 2 or 3 rows, and then all the rest are exactly the same. You can see the different colors there, and this one is a mixture. So I will be doing this one simply so that I can show the color change. So it'll just be the beginning like that. So off we go. To start off with, I'm going to be making the center. Obviously you can make this the whole thing in one color. You don't need to make a center in a different color. But I think once all the squares are sewn together, it makes quite a striking little spot. And that's why I use such a strong contrast color. So to start off with, just the basic magic circle. And then catching the yarn. Make the first little knot, make it nice and tight. I do count that as one loop. Make another one. We call it chain 2. So you got 3 chains, and you got the 4th one on the hook. Then we're going to go back into the magic circle, catch up the yarn, make a loop on the hook, go through 2, go through 2, and that is the basic double crochet. We chain 1 because that's going to be a corner, and then 3 double crochets to form to form a cluster. That's going to be a side corner, chain 1, three double crochets, make another cluster. Now it's a square, so there's going to be 4 corners and 4 sides. Now to start off with, as you can see, I've made 2, and I'll explain, because the chain counts as a double crochet. I'll explain why when I get there. So that is 1, 2, and 3, corner. This is the last side, 1, 2, and 3. At the corner. Then we pull the magic circle closed, but not completely, just enough so that we can now do the final side with a completion of this is a double crochet, which now makes that first cluster there complete. Do you see? Because I wanted to have the chain in the middle. This is just for the starting one. If you change colors, you can't do that. I mean, if you keep the same color, sorry, you can't do that. If you change colors, you can put it in the middle. So there we go. And because I'm changing colors, I'm putting my chain in the middle. Now I need to close this V on the top there, so I've threaded my tail, and instead of going through with the sharp end, I could do it as a blunt needle, but I don't want to break these split. I don't want to split those up. I go through with the back, and I go down here. Now these squares are reversible, so there's no back and there's no front. So I need to keep both sides clean to make sure that my work, when I'm sewing in the ends, is invisible. For now, I'm not going to work it in and wait until I've got a few more rows, and then I come back and I work them in. The magic circle's there. Give it a tug, make it tighter. This is the one. If you want to work it in, you can. You can come back later as well. It doesn't make a difference. Where's my sharp one? We'll just work it in to hold it into place. Go through a little bit. Make sure you're going in the right direction, in the correct direction. Otherwise, you're going to undo your circle. Give it another tug, and just keep on going around a number of times. My finger on the back is making sure that it's not coming through. And you want to work it away very well, because with washing wear, you don't want these centers to come loose. You can just keep on going. That should do the trick. Now make sure you're cutting away the correct one. I don't know why my scissors have just the last day or two decided to become blunt. So I'm not going to work this one that way yet, because I need actually to work some more stitches before I can do that. So now we will take the next color. In this case, it will be the blue. Getting it around the fingers. And working from the other side of where this tail is. Now, here, as you can see, there are two sides that look different. The one is bumpy, but I don't necessarily look at that. What I look at is the V on top here, the way the V is lying. There's the V. See how the V's are all joined in? There's a little V going all the way around. Here, you can see the V is, you can see the V, so that is the front of the work. Here you can't see the V, that's the back of the work. And yeah, it is motley. So I am going to be turning the work over for every row. Whether I'm changing color or not, it needs to be turned over for every row. Take this blue one here and you can see. So that's that side. Let's turn it around this way. You can see there the little V's peeking out. Then the next row, if you look here, you can see the V's are tucked away. V's are peeking out. V's tucked away, peeking out. But when you're changing color, sometimes one forgets to actually check that. So working from this side, I'm going to attach the yarn. Leave enough tail so that you can work it away later. Now I pull this tight. Really get a good grip, and with this finger here I'm holding the tail. So that counts as 1, 2, pulling it tight, 3, pulling it tight. The fourth one, which is on the hook, so that's counted as 3. It stays large, stays loose. Now here, either I can put the chain in the middle which means when I come back I'll make the double crochet on that side, or I can make another double crochet. So let's just show you how that would look. If I can, I'll put it in the middle if I'm going to change the color. If I'm not going to change the color, then it needs to be on the outside. So we'll just continue with this. Now this is a corner, so once again chain 1 and make another cluster, which consists of 3 double crochet. All the time I'm having a nice firm grip on the circle, holding the tail in the back. Corners I always keep a certain amount of tension with the working yarn, as I don't like my corners to be baggy. Jumping over to that corner, wrapping the yarn, and I make another cluster of 3. I did not chain between the 2 corner clusters. When we're working on the sides, on the straight sides, there is no chaining. The only place there is a chain is in the corner, 4 corners, and when you're going from one row to the next. So now I'm going to this corner, there's no chain there. Chain 1. This row I keep a lot of tension because it's a very small little circle that I'm holding, and I don't want it to be baggy. As I move further up in the rows, and I'm working on the sides, then I change my strategy to how I hold the yarn. Even the angle of the needle changes. Another trick as to why it's advisable to change from one side to the other if one has problem with a square warping is that when you actually change for every row, the side you're working on, your work does not warp. So I've come to the end. I'm going to be cutting this to change color. Now with the gray, I will show with you at the end of the gray row what happens when I don't change color. And I'm going to just be stepping up, going through the V, now here what I like to do, because this is going to be worked over, it's different if it's the last row, then I wouldn't necessarily do this, because when it's the last row, you're going to be working your squares together like that. You're going to either be sewing them together or crocheting them together. When I say sew, I mean you're going to be using a darning needle, and you want those edges to be perfect, and you want them all to be the same. But when it's the body of the work, when it's still lower down, what you can do is you can just put it like that, and then you just come back and you go in, and that makes it a nice and firm little join. See there? Because here there is no chain. There's a chain there in the corner. You don't want it gaping. I'm just going to work it away. When I have it on the needle. So the rule of 3, which is one direction, make sure it's not pulling too much. Coming back, trying to catch as many of the yarns inside. You can actually feel it. My finger at the back is making sure it doesn't poke through. Coming back, holding it nice and tight as I pull it through. So I love these sharp tapestry needles for this work. Rule of 3, one more. I call these little worms. They're like little worms. Ensure not to cut the body of the work. There we go. So now we are going to the next color. And I could work this away now, but I'm not going to do it later. Coming to the next color, and this will be the gray. I am going to be climbing up from one row to the next, which means when you've completed a row, you're then going to climb up. With this one, let me see where I can see where the climb up is. For the life of me, usually I can feel it. That's strange. Let me see if I can see in the blue one. Might be more visible. Why am I having a problem trying to find where I'm chaining them up? I can't see it. I really can't see where it is. See it. Huh. I'm probably going to see it later when I'm looking for it. Oh, I really can't see it. Well, if you can see it, great, guys, because I can't. Anyway, we started a corner. So there are the V's. Turn it over. I try and work from the opposite corner of where the yarn is, because otherwise you have all the worms in the same place. The worms that have been worked into. So going to another side, making sure there's enough tail so that later on when I work that yarn away, I'm not fiddling with this little short bit. And once again, holding it nice and tight with this finger here, pinching that and giving it a good tug. So that's 1, 2, 3. Actually, you can actually hear it snap in. The last one is on the hook, keeping the tension, and another one. I'm keeping them on the edge, the chain, not putting it in the middle, and you'll see why later. Okay, chain 1, as it's a corner, making sure there's nice tension here so I don't get floppy corners. Now I can drop the tail, don't need to hold it on anymore. So now I'm going to be working here, and I will not be chaining one. I'll go straight in and make that cluster. What's happening to my yarn? Okay, give it a little tug. I think I got it upside down in the container. Well, I'm going to show you my container. I was so happy with this. Found this in the dollar store. And it just holds it so beautifully. Okay, so, well, here they call it a Poundland. I've lived in several countries, and I used to go to the dollar store, other country. So there we go. Coming to the corner, so I'm chain 1, keeping that tension because I'm working on the corner. Make sure it's not floppy. By the time you finish watching this video, I've heard the word floppy so many times. Okay, now I'm coming to the middle. Tension's different, it's just more relaxed. Not horribly relaxed, because I don't want them to be gaping either. But when you're working along a long row, you do want your hands to be comfortable. And here we're coming back to this corner. This is the start of the previous row, but everything's in order. And going straight into the next cluster with no chain, because this is the side, and going back into the corner, a bit more tension. Chain 1, turn. I'm just speeding along. Make sure there's 3. Coming in for the home run. Now here it's going to be different from the 2 previous rows because we're not going to be changing the color. Normally I'd cut it, work it into the V up here, but in this case we're not going to. So what is going to happen is work out where your chain is. So 3 stitches, 1 double crochet, another double crochet, and then the chain, which is actually a double crochet, count it as 1. You're going to be going into that top one there. Going to catch the yarn, and you're going to be you're making what is called a slip stitch, which means you go straight through. Give it a good tug, nice and tight. You don't want it to create a V. You don't want it to create a V at all. Now here's the interesting and tricky part, is you're going to turn the work. Now I don't turn it that way because of the way it twists. I'm going to turn it this way. So you need to remember to always turn it in the same way because you're working in that direction. So you go, okay. Now what you're going to have to do is put the yarn to the back of the work because that's where the yarn lives. The hook is going to go in the front of the work. It's going to go up and it's going to catch this. And you're going to bring it up and it's going to make a little loop there on the needle. On the hook. Do that again. So you've got your slip knot. Turn your work. Put the yarn to the back. Come in from the front. Catch the yarn and bring it up. Now you're going to slip the hook through. With the yarn you're going to hook it through. So there's your, that is going to count as your first stitch. You're not going to chain one more up. Just going to leave it like that. Go in and make your next decay. So let's start again and show you how to do that. Come in for the home run. Go into the V at the top. Slip stitch it in place. Turn it. Go underneath. You have the 2 on your hook. Go and fetch another one, and there it is. And then you're going to make 2 more double crochets. There we go. And you can be going to the next one. So I'm just going to speed around. Whoops. It says me making a mistake. We can come back to that point there. It's like my body just knows that it's been watched, which is weird because I am sitting alone in the apartment. And My hand's got a little bit of a shake in it, which is also weird because that's not normal for me. Try to loosen up, imagining I'm watching something on TV. I literally do this without even looking down when I'm watching something on TV, especially when it's a larger square. My fingers just feel their way along, detect the holes, and put the yarn in. Some yarns are perfect for that. Other ones, they split and are an absolute nightmare. And one has to look at the work all the time. Okay. And here we are. Coming into the final corner. Increasing the tension a little bit. So as I'm changing colors, I'm going to cut it and put it in there. If I wasn't changing colors, I want to show you what the top of that looks like. Because that is not actually a chain up. Remember, it's actually that little twisty thing. So I'm going to make another one just so that you can see it. Go into the V, pull the yarn out. But I'm not making a single crochet. I'm putting it into the V. And I'm going all the way through and I'm pulling it tight. Turning the work. See, this is not ridiculously tight. It's sitting on the hook. Going through, picking up a loop. You can see the loop is fairly large. Taking the yarn through. I'm not making this particularly tight or small either. It's just comfortable. And making 2 more double crochets to complete it. Then I'll be working around. So you see it's actually pretty invisible. This is the one from the previous row. Can't really see it. And that is why I had such a darn hard time trying to find them on here. They are there somewhere. But as you can see, it's actually quite beautiful, isn't it? Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. As I said, I'm going to be changing colors. So come back to here. Cutting the yarn. Pulling it through. And I'll be working that away. Working these tails away. Let me actually show you how I work all the tails away. I prefer to wait until the row above is done if I work a tail away. So this one I've already worked the one away. So what happens is, as you can see here, look at this one. This one is the starter yarn, which means it started the work. So what I do is I come underneath here and I just catch it like that. And then I go through the worm. Once again, the rule of 3. My hand at the back is holding, checking that it's not coming through. Remember, these squares are work from both sides. Now here I've caught a little thread. It's a little bit further away from my eyes than I normally work. I normally bring it closer to me. I do have my glasses on, but it's a bit tricky. Okay, cutting at an angle and then pulling it in. So now that I have worked a few rows away from the center, I can work this one in. I'm going to go into this worm here. So I'm just, you can either go through here or you can go along there. You just want to try and follow the stitches so it just becomes invisible. It's worked in. Then you're going to go into your worm, holding it, not coming out on either side, coming back. So that's why it's nice to have at least a little bit of tail to work with. So when you cast on, why I say cast on, I think I'm knitting. When you start and end your work, just make sure your tail is long enough. There we go. It's so practical having a magnet. So I never have to go looking for my needles. And I wouldn't like it to fall down either. So there we go. Ah, one more. Now where did that worm, where did I work where the last worm? See, that's why I like to leave the threads to the end, because then I can see which worms have a tail in and which ones don't. Otherwise you work them all into the same place and that's not ideal. Up. Okay. Okay, let's just, okay, actually I can feel something in there. I can't feel anything in there. So come through here and catch it, because this is my starter yarn. So it's somewhere there in the middle. Now going back. Tucked away there. And I think I'll just aim off the lower side of this worm. Okay. Snipping it off. Very happy with that. So this one I won't work away completely. I will just close that V. And there we go. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hear someone's come home, so I'll say goodbye for now. Thank you very much. There we go. Bye.